Alright, guys. I've been hinting this for a few days now. I've already hinted it in my last video, which was actually a short, a YouTube short, and then I made a video about all the movie ideas that I mentioned on my last few videos, but here's the biggest one that I wanted to do, and this is, of course, the ideas for a sequel to Encanto. And I have to admit, it was one of my favorite movies in recent years, and I watched it like two, three times in the theaters, and I just can't get enough of the songs. And the internet doesn't blame you because we've been hearing the songs again and again and again on freaking TikTok and other social media platforms. We Don't Talk About Bruno is still stuck in my head to this very day. Yeah, it's the new Let It Go. So I just kept thinking to myself, why am I not involved writing movies? Because I don't know any friggin' movie people. I haven't been involved in anything related to movies. So, why don't I come up with my own list of ideas for a sequel? Because I keep thinking, what could be next after that movie of Encanto? Well, I will definitely mention it to you all. And also, just to let you all know, this is a little spoiler warning of my adaptation of Encanto 2. I know there's other people who have their own ideas, and most of them are quite predictable. Like like Mirabel becoming a grandmother herself and her being, the new, I guess you could say, matriarch of the family and such, except, another curse happens. Just another retread of the first movie, except it's several years later with Mirabel herself being a grandma. But no one has ever thought about anything else, and that's, of course, having the future involved. Time travel. Sci-fi meets magic. Yeah. Alright, so I'm going to have a list of ideas that I have typed down on a Google Doc, and I've already showed it for just a little tease earlier in one of my YouTube shorts. So this is going to be very interesting. Number one, the first idea is that the movie starts in the future, but not just in the future, but also in Mexico instead of Colombia. And it's the future of 2150, so 2150 is where the future takes place. And the new character, the new main character, is a young, rich billionaire scientist. Think of him as a Hispanic Tony Stark or Bruce Wayne, except he's not a superhero. He's just a regular scientist that's super filthy rich and that wants to learn about the legendary Madrigals. He invents a time machine and goes back in time to see the Madrigals if they're real or not. So, like I said, list number two says that I'm, of course, mentioning that this movie is basically showing what is better, magic or science. And no, the freaking main new character will not be the bad guy. Just like in the first movie, there will be no bad guys. Number three, just like in the previous movie, Encanto 2, or Encanto Dos, depending on what you like to call it, will be a musical, and if he's available and if he's willing to return, Lin-Manuel Miranda should write the songs, but I think there should be other songwriters writing original, different songs, just for the heck of it. Just to make things fresh, just to make things a little bit more unique, having more songwriters involved, not just Lin-Manuel Miranda, because, he's not a miracle worker, and he's probably going to be tired of writing songs for Disney. Like, he'll either come up with ideas, but he can't write them all, like, immediately, within seconds. He has to think first and everything. I don't want to push him hard if I ever get involved in Encanto 2, of course. Alright, anyway, number 4 will be the first song of Mirabel recapping the events of the first movie, as well as living a happy life with the Madrigals after Bruno was welcomed back in the end of the first movie, which is also a big spoiler alert, of course, if you haven't seen it. And of course, number 5, the movie takes place just a few weeks after the events of the first movie. Number 6, I hope that there will be a video game based off of the movie because, let's face it, whatever happened to movie-based games? They're not as frequent as they used to be, I guess because the budget's a lot bigger nowadays and the fact that movie-based games get a bad reputation, I can understand that, but I feel like Encanto would be the perfect movie to have a video game. And I think the sequel will definitely prove that if it becomes that successful. And of course, at number 7, unlike the previous movie where it just have Colombia-based genres or any Spanish-based genres, I was hoping that the new songs of the movie will have every possible genre, like rock, rap, hip-hop, R&B, jazz, country, metal, reggae, you name it. So, because the scientist will sing a song showing the madrigals about the future world history by singing every genre, including electronic, as electronic could be popular in about 150 years from now. or almost 100 years from now. And number 8 subplot is about Bruno. He remembers that he just now remembers in the movie that he had a girlfriend a long time ago and had 2 kids with her, and they apparently, those 2 kids have gifts as well, and Abuela Alma is the only one that knew about this and never told anyone about it since Bruno was exiled around the same time. He was exiled, he left the family around that same time. Number 9, the girlfriend disappeared when Bruno was exiled, and the kids' gifts, turns out, one of them was super speed, supersonic speed, or super flash speed, whatever. Whoever's the fastest, Roadrunner, Superman, the Flash, you name it, Sonic the Hedgehog. And the other is teleportation, which means that the kids have scientific like, or sci fi like, powers, which foreshadows the scientific aspects of the Madrigals. Number 10, it'll be more obvious at first that the scientist from Mexico could be a descendant of the Madrigals, but spoiler alert once again, we find out he was just a full-blooded Mexican. He doesn't have any Colombian in him or any Madrigal in him after looking up his family tree. Number 11, Isabella and Mirabel both fight over that Mexican scientist. They fall in love, they both fight over him. Number 12, this is where it's really serious. Abuela Alma becomes more tyrannic, and after finding out the fate of the Madrigals, and become a little bit more xenophobic after the scientist tells the Madrigals all about the good, the bad, and the ugly of the world and the entire future of the world. And yeah, that's something that Abuela Alma would actually do after seeing how protective and how overbearing she was in the first movie. Anyway, okay, so number 13, the scientist gives the Madrigal some inventions to keep their gifts, to help them, to better take care of themselves in case if anything goes wrong. In case if anything goes wrong, just have some new gadgets for them to help them ease whatever problems they have. Dolores, of course, the ones who has special hearing, she gets special set of earmuffs or earplugs to balance out the hearing in case if she doesn't want to hear too much. If she doesn't want to hear too much, get earplugs. Luisa gets protein powder to make shakes to keep her strong instead of freaking steroids. And also have her mother, Julieta, get involved to help her make the protein shakes. Antonio gets a walkie-talkie like translator so everyone can know what the animals are saying. So, yeah, and translator for animals to speak or something, I don't know. And then Camilo gets a portal gun that can take him anywhere, similar to Rick and Morty, except instead of a teleporter to dimensions, it's pretty much a teleporter towards anything whenever he turns into something. It's kind of complicated. Julieta gets a first aid kit with potions that can turn any food to any healing thing, no matter how fatal, even a gunshot. I know, I didn't mention that in the actual script, but I wanted to include a gunshot. Alright, and then Peppa gets a weather shield that prevent any bad weather from happening everywhere but to herself. So basically, she'll be the only one with a storm, basically. And also get some future medications to keep her calm so nothing happens at all. And Isabella gets a really very pretty, sparkling, but also prehistoric, like dinosaur-like plant that never dies. And she apparently loves it. And finally, we save Mirabel for last. She gets a lie detector, just in case if anything screws up. Number 15, we find out that the Madrigals became a myth or legend around the world after their mysterious deaths, along with the Casita and the Encanto became a travel attraction. The former non-Madrigal residents, all the other people of the Encanto, have left for different parts of Colombia and South America after their deaths, after the Madrigals died. And number 16, the scientist tries to time travel different ways to prevent Pedro's death, Alma's husband, from him dying when Alma was just young, but the scientist kept failing as it turns out it was always meant to be that way. And it also turns out, at number 17, that the reason for the deaths of all the Madrigals and the rest of the Encanto being destroyed was because an avalanche happened. And thus, there was more wide open space, and the Madrigals and the Casitas sacrificed themselves. And there was a war going on at the time, right after the destruction. So that's why the Madrigals were willing to die for all the innocent people out there. Number 18, Abuela Alma redeems herself and thanks the scientist for helping the family out, but she sadly dies of a broken heart when the avalanche and the war starts right away. And just like with Pedro, it was always meant to happen. And then she turns into a butterfly. She turns into a glowy little butterfly, and then we see another glowing one that could be Pedro. And then boom. And also the war was the Battle of la Pedrera. I had to look up like a lot of Colombian wars, and this is the one that they lost in, the Battle of la Pedrera. Number 19, Mirabel steps in to become the new matriarch of the Madrigals at the end of the movie. Number 20, Isabella joins the scientist in the future and starts a family. So it turns out that Mirabel only liked the scientist as a friend after a while. Meanwhile, Isabella was the one who actually really wanted to be married to him. And boom, they actually did end up having 5 kids. So it was kind of a prediction, but it wasn't with Mariano. It wasn't with the other dude from the previous movie. It was with the scientist. And then in the 21st, the last song in the movie is just a reprisal of the first movie song, The Family Madrigal, that song, except the scientist is involved, as well as an added genre with electronic thrown in just a little bit. And then number 22, and this is the longest and biggest one. The Madrigals have a funeral and vigil for Abuela Alma, and they were saved from the avalanche thanks to the scientists getting a really big shield, like a holographic metal shield, protecting everyone, including Casita. The scientist takes the Madrigals to a newer area where the Encanto was magically brought up with loads of armor and protection. Everyone lives happily ever after, and then the epilogue has Isabella's kids all getting their gifts individually, and they all involve technology and magic, science and magic together. They're always good as one. The first kid gets to become a mechanic that can build anything, basically anything out of anything. The second one is a fighting wizard. Think about the strongest Harry Potter character, but is Colombian, or half Colombian, half Mexican. There we go. Third one, a rocketeer, a rocket builder, like who could make anything out of rockets, but can only make rockets, and that's it. The fourth one is a botanist, like a plant farmer, or anyone that can make plants, similar to how Isabella can make any flowers pop up, and that's where Isabella becomes even more proud of that kid. I don't know which ones could be boys or girls. I don't know. Just science thrown in. The last one? Ooh, this one's gonna be similar to Jack Jack, of course, from The Incredibles. Because you know how Jack Jack from The Incredibles has, like, all these powers that he has? Well, guess what? The fifth kid of the scientist and of Isabella, he has every one of the Madrigal's powers. Every one of them. And the strongest of the family. So that means he also has Luisa's strength, Dolores' hearing, the animal translating, Camila's shape-shifting, you name it. Everyone's powers, and even his siblings' powers. So yeah, the youngest one is now the strongest, and will able to control anything out of it. And that's all my ideas for Encanto 2. You basically get all the plot points of the movie that I wrote, which even though I haven't wrote a full-on script yet, but hey, these are just ideas that can turn into a script. I just have to think of whatever songs I could think of that could be written if I was ever involved with Disney, of course. Disney, like I said, if you ever get to watch this, please at least credit me as one of the freaking writers, but not all the regular writers, but at least story by whatever. So I hope you all enjoyed this video, so I hope you give it a like, subscribe, stay tuned for more new videos, and let me know what you think about my ideas for Encanto 2. Do you think it was a little too much? Do you think it wasn't Disney levels of good, or was it just a hit and miss? I don't know. I can take any criticism. So yeah, peace out, rock on, guys.